Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Another fresh hour for you here today, recorded this morning. Next hour, as I said, is a best of. But this particular hour, I'll bring on Mama. Bring on Mama. Maybe even have some discussions, Tom, of Christmases of yore, of yesteryear. Okay. I was doing this. I did this over I was trying to think about it yesterday. Yesterday's my wife's birthday. And we every year go over to Apalachicola and St. George and all that. And we end up having a big to-do and a big meal with family and all that. And we have some cold beer, perhaps, at some of the various locales there in that area. I always go by that little bookstore that I told you I'm in love with. And I went in again, and that woman remembered me this time. She's like, "You come in here every year." And she made me laugh because she goes, "Usually you stop right over there and have a couple of pints before you come over here. I can tell."
Yeah. How was the Hooter Brown yesterday?
So it was good, but that's now no longer in Oyster City.
What?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a involved thing, and we'll talk about that another day. But
because we want Oyster City's advertising. Sure.
Well, no, it's just this whole situation got really weird. So the original brewers are still there now, but it's called something different, and they sold off the rights to the Oyster City. I learned everything yesterday.
Is it called Mother Shuckers?
No, it's not. But the beers are all still delicious. And I also went to East Point, and I also went to a couple of other places. So there's a lot of little breweries around there. And we had fun. But yeah, that lady and I were talking, and she was like, "Yeah, you came here last year and bought a book." I go, "I bought a book. I buy a book here every year, ma'am. I am here every year at this time on this exact day, and I always buy a new book. And I've gotten to where I trust you, and I allow you to pick the book because she knows the stuff that I like." I bought a Wendell Berry book there last year, which was tremendous. It was also a little depressing, but it was good. And then she gave me another one, which I'm going to start reading today. So I'll let you all know.
Was it about serial killers?
No, not at all. This one's about history and technology and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah. The Wendell Berry book about the world being on fire is interesting. It's about the advent of computers. He was a writer. He was in New York City, but he's a Southern guy from Kentucky. It's a fascinating book. But this book is a little bit different. And I don't know. I have no idea what to expect, but she grabbed it off the shelf and handed it to me. And, a couple of beers in, I said, "Sure," without even looking at it.
1984.
So we shall see. But my point of bringing any of this up to start the hour was that, Christmas just happened and New Year's is about to happen. And I don't know if you've reached that age. For me, it was in my 30s. So I do that. Yeah, I assume you're an old soul. So you probably started doing it when you were 15. But I start looking back on, and I try to remember as best I can something from every Christmas. And it's an exercise where you say, can you do it? Can you remember something, either a present that you got, a tender moment with your parents or your brothers or sisters or whatever? Perhaps you had a Christmas where you guys went somewhere, we had a destination Christmas a couple of times as a family. And especially as everybody grew up and went elsewhere to college and different places, we were like, "Oh, where do you want to meet?" One year we met on the beach. One year we went skiing in the mountains. One year, all that kind of stuff. So okay, well, we'll meet here. We'll do it this way this year. And I was thinking back on all the different Christmases. And of course, as a parent now, I think of like each of my kids' Christmases, like what were some of the presents that they were most excited about or that I couldn't wait to unveil, which is always the best. Like their first bike. You never forget that. The first time they get a bike, they're so pumped. You remember when you got your first bike? I remember when I got my first bike. It was my first BMX bike, which was the Mongoose. It was that black and yellow Mongoose, which I remember like it was yesterday. I thought that was the coolest bike on earth. I rode that sucker like 25 miles away from my house on Christmas Day. And a time where you could ride your bike 25 miles away from wherever it was you lived and nobody said anything. Like your parents are just like, "Hey, we'll see him when we see him." That's the way it works. And just be home before it gets dark. Anyhow, so there was that. I remember all of that. I remember when I got a Commodore 64. That was the coolest day ever when I got that Commodore 64, hearing the sound of that thing boot, that, it was incredible. I was, the magic is here. And then I played micro league baseball on that thing. I can remember all this stuff. And I was trying to do that yesterday, just as I was trying to remember all the New Year's stuff. And it's a fun exercise if you've never done it.
Yeah, one of the coolest gifts I ever saw was for my sister. It wasn't for me on Christmas. I had some excellent Christmases. Everything from there was the complete Star Wars set of micro machines of every one of the ships, every
Ooh,
single one of the
yeah,
ships.
that is a good one.
That was killer. Hockey stuff, all that stuff. But my sister, who was in on the gig because she was in college, they're all far older than I am. Um, she wanted money. She asked Santa for money. And so we all got to write letters together. So you know the drill. They're like, young Tommy gets to write to Santa. We're going to tell what time it is. So she wanted money. And Santa put on a small tree, it was called the money tree, and it had 100 singles on it. They taped 100 singles onto the tree. Yeah, that was a pretty good gift right there. But it just looked so cool. It was just covered in singles, so it looks like it's so much more. It might have been 50. I don't know. I was a kid, so in my brain I thought it was $1 billion. But you just see a tree with all these dollar bills on it. I was like, whoa. That is the craziest gift I've ever seen. It still sticks with me to this day. I can remember it had some of that foil wrapping at the bottom of the tree that was lime green. It's pretty cool.
When you're a little kid, man, $20 looks like a lot.
Yeah, it could have been 25. I think it was 100. I'm not sure.
But yeah, 100 in singles is a hell of a gift. You're like, whoa. You stare at it in awe. You're like, look, we're rich.
I was like, that's why I told her. I said, you're rich. Because you don't understand the concept of money. She took me to Toys R Us once when I was 7 or 8 years old for my birthday, and I wanted a console. She's like, I'm not getting you a console. I said, just put it on your credit card. She said, that's not how that works. I said, yeah, it is. You just take the credit card out of your wallet. They take it, and then it's yours.
I've seen Mom do this. You just they slide it, and the next thing you know, you have the thing that you want. It's incredible how this works.
The greatest piece of paper in human history
is a check.
Okay, fair. But no, when you're a child, it was the piece of paper with the barcode at Toys R Us that they would scan, and then you got to go to the shaky man in the shack at the back of the Toys R Us, and then he goes and it always smelled like cigarettes, and he goes back there and he grabs you the video game that you bought. That was the thing.
The shaky man at the back of Toys R Us, and Toys R Us in general. Listen, I'm all for progress. I'm all for making our life a lot easier. I'm all for receiving things that you have purchased quickly. There's nothing wrong per se with Amazon delivering you something like 2 days after you ordered it, but missing out on the experience of going to a Toys R Us with your mom or dad as a kid, and then picking out a bike or whatever that needs assembly, and then having that shaky man in the back tell you to come back in an hour or two.
Yep.
And then when you circle around where they hide the dead bodies by the trash and all that,
that's right.
When you circle around with your mom and your dad and you see the bike that they put together for you, he's already got it. It's sitting there with like a little ribbon on it, and it says paid and the whole thing. And you're like, oh, there it is. Yep. There it is. You get so pumped. There it is, Mom. Pull up and get it. There it is. And it's one of 19 that he's had to put together so far that day. And years later, I pictured that guy doing exactly what you just described, smoking a cigarette with a wrench going, this effing thing, trying to get that thing right.
Oh, man. I mean, those guys were MVPs. And later in life, it's the same feeling you have whenever you get a new car. It's the same exact feeling there because you see it, they wax it, it's fresh, it comes around the corner, and you're like, that is mine. We're about to bond, you and me, car. I'm about to give you a name. It's the same joy that you have when you're a kid. And Toys R Us provided a lot of that. This is why I like going to Games for Less, and it's not a read for George per se, but the nostalgia of walking into a video game store, because all of those stores, inevitably, Electronics Boutique was the one that I always went to in Countryside Mall growing up.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah.
EB Games, that's what they became, but it was originally Electronics Boutique.
That's correct.
The smell of the plastic. It had a distinct smell of new game cartridge plastic. Blockbuster had that smell as well with all the VHS tapes in the video games. But there was a distinct smell, I'm sure that was toxic, that's going to kill my generation, 10 years too early. But there was an awesome smell to that new plastic. It was the equal but opposite of going into a sporting goods store and smelling, the canisters of the tennis balls or the newness of the shoes. That's what it was like to walk into EB Games. And buddy, I would never walk into EB games without intent. You never went into the browse, because if you did, you walk away, you're crying when you walk out of there, because they have all these cool games. You walk in there with $52 because you know it's going to be $51.76 for the purchase. That was the best.
Electronics Boutique, man, you're bringing me back. It's like going to Circuit City or any of these places that don't exist anymore. Walking into the Maz Brothers, whatever, whatever it might be. Like, all these places that are gone now, and I don't care about a lot of them. But Electronics Boutique was a good one. It's like the other day for you guys out there listening. You know this. You've been around, and ladies too, for that matter. You may remember that, as it's known now, Bank of America was once Nations Bank, and it was just Nations. And I remember having a Nations Bank card.
Yep, Nations Bank, which became Barnett Bank for a brief stint in the middle there. And
yeah, Nations Bank from North Carolina. And there was before, it was something before that even. Yeah, NCNB or whatever it was. I think North Carolina Nations Bank or something like that. NCNB, is that right? You got to go all the way back. And then I remember eventually when it became Bank of America. I watched that thing grow. My kids, these are the things my kids look at me and go, Jesus, Dad.
I think I'm
So
starting.
I tell them all the time that, yeah, you could go, when it was in CNB, I think you could go and get $5 out.
Yeah, I found the one $10 place in town that was Bill's 2 on Tennessee Street. That ATM had the $10, which in my heyday in 06, 07, 08, I only had $16 in my checking account. So 10, you needed that 10 option.
I needed the 5 option. I was so broke. I had $7.89 in my account one time. Pulled out 5 so I could get the all you could drink special.
Yeah, it was for poor Paul's. I mean, who am I kidding here? It was to go to poor Paul's or to just get in the door at Flippin' Tuesdays, which was a $10 cover. So you walk in with no money, but at least I'm in.
You're in, and somebody will do you right that night because their parents sent them money.
That's correct. You know how it works, where they got their book check back. You know, the reimbursement check for their book buyback.
Now, the book buyback, which, by the way, what a scam. Anyhow, going in and handing that book back and getting you $34 for a $75 book that you bought or whatever, you're like, all right, that was a big day.
Well, and the lotto, because I had the Bright Futures, the lotto would send you a dispensation check for books every semester. And about 4 semesters in, my parents asked, "Hey, not for nothing, we're supposed to get a check for the books. Have you been getting those?"
No.
Have you been depositing those?
Yes.
It's okay if the answer is yes. Just say so. Yes, I have. How much was it? $650.
Dude, that'll keep you drinking for an entire semester.
It will. Barnett Bank was the predecessor to Nations Bank. I just looked that up.
Yeah.
They had the green lollipops. That's why I remember that green was their color, and so they had the green lollipops for the kids.
The green lollipops. Florida State is up to number 6 in the transfer portal rankings currently for On3 because of the recent signings. And I don't know if that means anything, but I'll just tell you what those numbers look like. Texas Tech is number 1. We do live in a very weird world. Ole Miss is 2, Michigan 3, Oregon 4, Missouri 5, and now Florida State is ahead of LSU, ahead of Auburn, ahead of Texas A&M, ahead of Miami, ahead of Michigan State, ahead of Washington, ahead of, you get it. You get the gist. That's where Florida State's at right now. I wouldn't ordinarily say that it's a good thing when we're looking at rankings, because you'd say I'd rather the prep rankings be top 6 than the portal rankings be top 6, but not this offseason. No, this offseason, I'd like to hover around number 1 in the portal.
Well, and when you combine what they did in the last 72 hours of that cycle for the prep ranks,
That's
and
correct.
also what's going on here in the portal, this has been a very strong effort. This has been good. It doesn't erase everything. It doesn't magically fix the problems that they had in high school recruiting. You still need to look at those situations next cycle for 2026 and say, is this crew better than its predecessor? But if you're going to grade the start just for what it is, Monday of early signing day week to this point, I mean, they're getting an A-, I would think, a B+, an A-.
I'm at a point where I get that, you're in a massive rebuild / infusion and exodus of talent. And all of this makes for a very difficult to say with any degree of certainty what's going to happen, right? I mean, like when you have this much changeover in your coaching staff and with your roster, and it is a convoluted process that you can't then say equals greatness. But given where they were, to your point, given where they were at 2-10, and as bad as they looked, and firing coaches with games still to go, and looking at a roster and saying, I just don't see it. I don't see talent. They've got, how is this going to get, how are you going to get to where you can win 6 games? Like that was the idea going into the offseason, was this foreboding 2025. And now I think with all that they've added and the 72 hours of which you speak, in which they somehow salvaged a decent recruiting class from the prep ranks, I would say that most Florida State fans who are burned, who are hurting, who are angry, who are, I think, probably to some degree, maybe, I don't want to say jaded, but cynical, certainly, of this staff, of Mike moving forward, right, have probably reached a place where there's hopeful optimism. There's careful optimism. There's guarded optimism as we go into this a little each day that goes by, when you find out that you got an offensive lineman, when you find out that you brought in Luke Pettibone yesterday, you're like, oh, okay, we got us a starting center and a pretty good one. You did the same with the 2 tackles. You did the same with the kid from UCF at guard. You did the same with the top. Okay. These guys have played. They are not projects. They're not, we hope this turns out okay. These are all guys that played and have rankings from the many games in which they played. 22 starts for the guy that we're talking about, Pettibone, right? 38 games played. I mean, like, he can play. Is he a dominant center? I wouldn't say he's a dominant center. Is he a good center? Yeah. In this league, he's been a good center. Yeah. So they've done enough for the hopeful optimism there, the guarded optimism.
Yeah, I think even the most cynical would say, well, it's not nothing. They haven't done nothing. They're at least they're moving in a direction. They're committed to that direction, and they're acquiring talent to that direction. And if I'm sitting on the sidelines, I'm saying, all right, well, it does appear that whatever the powers are, they've decided to invest, and they understand the situation that they're in, which is they probably needed to overcommit versus what they would have had to do last year in the same circumstance for like talent. Like, I would imagine the offensive lineman they brought in probably cost more this year coming off of 2-10 than they would have last year if you were in the same circumstance, needed to go get a Pettis or a Hansen or a Deuce Robinson or whatever. So that's where you pat the battle's end on the back and you say, I don't know what this thing's going to look like next year in terms of the structure between the university and the collective, but they've done a good job. And that's where you continue to buy your bricks. You go get that quarter zip. I don't know if it's still on special or not after the holidays, but it doesn't matter. You go to thebattlesend.com, you go get your quarter zip. They've done a good job here because remember how it all started. You don't get a yes from Chroma, and you don't take that guy away from Georgia. You don't take away an edge rusher from Ole Miss at the last moment, and you don't complete a flip of a kid who was already just decommitted from LSU and bring him into Florida State. You don't get a receiver that was down to Florida and Florida State without commitment, and that has continued through to the portal. So they're spending their money wisely. That's where go get you that brick or go get you that Peter Warwick signed memorabilia, whatever it is. They're doing a good job, and you want to see that continue into this first quarter of next year.
Jason Jenkins is a player out of Tennessee, a defensive lineman. He is 6'6", 250. If you look at his numbers in Tennessee, he didn't play a whole hell of a lot. I just read a Brent Hubbs article on him. You remember I used to have Brent on when I did work for On3 as far as the wrap-up shows. He would come on quite a bit. There was high hopes for him at one point, including in the course of this past year where he had a good game against Oklahoma. He had a tackle for a safety and another tackle for loss. At the time that discussion about the player was happening, Jason Jenkins, they thought he was on the come, that he was rising in the ranks of guys that was going to play a lot more on that defensive line. And it just didn't happen for some reason. And now he's set to visit Tallahassee here in the next few days, in the next 5 days, that according to the agency that reps him, which is getting weirder and weirder for us to say all the time. But that now we have reporters of all walks of life just speaking to the agencies that are representing kids, which is a little bit more organized and I think better.
It is. There are some agencies that are still out there, maybe one that was worked locally with this program from time to time that you go, oh, God, this is an amateur hour. But most of them at this point, no, you've got refined agencies that do big time work with big time contracts, and they understand they approach it the proper way because, you know, the money's big enough that it has their attention. And that's going to be something that continues on here. It's going to get standardized. It already is much closer to standard than it was the first year that we had transfer portal and NIL. But this process is going to be standardized between a negotiating team from the university and then the third-party firm that's hired by a 16 or 17-year-old because they run real fast and because they dominated 2A ball. It's the world we live in.
So he's going to visit. So that's another defensive lineman. I don't know if they're going to get him, and I don't know what to make of that get if they do. He's within the portal. Coming out of high school, he was a 3-star kid. Within the portal, he's considered a 3-star kid. But again, if we're talking about trench players, offensive and defensive linemen, I'm throwing numbers, man. I'm throwing numbers all day long at the problem because I just can't. I can't do it again. I cannot be in a situation where you just don't have the dudes.
He's interior, I'm gathering. Is that right?
So it's weird to me because looking at what he is they consider him a defensive lineman. He's 6'6", 250. That is not big for the interior.
Okay. Well, again, in a 3-3-5, you can be malleable and line guys up in different positions. But I was just trying to think of the depth chart because, you know, for interior, again, you're in a 3-3-5. So I don't know exactly how they're going to align. But you do have, with Darrell Jackson coming back, it feels like it slots everybody where they need to go in the interior of the defensive line. You just brought in a 280-pound edge rusher out of Western Kentucky, but Daniel Lyons lines up behind Darrell Jackson on the 2 deep. Then you have KJ Sampson, who flashed in some moments early in his career. And then you have Kevin Wynn, the kid you kept from Texas.
Well, that's Tom, I'm going to say really quick, sorry, good point. That's the freshman defensive lineman who's 330 pounds, 320 pounds, whatever he is. You know, the more you read about him and the more that, I mean, we knew it was important. I don't know that anybody thought on signing day that he was going to say yes to Florida State. That didn't feel like a get. That felt like another disappointing outcome. That felt like, here we go again, where they lose these cornerstones of the class. And they constantly do that. It's one of the great gripes we have about Mike is that for all the good that he did prior to this godforsaken 2-10 season, he still didn't recruit well. And we always seemingly lost out on the cornerstones, KJ Bolden, guys like that, obviously Travis Hunter. You know, the guys that were going to make your class, the true 5-star instant impact, make a difference year one kinds of talent. Well, Wynn is one of those. Wynn is one of the guys, and you don't often say this about defensive linemen, but he is one of those. This is a monster. This is a grown-ass man walking through these doors. This is a guy that is in your rotation and is going to play here and now. Yeah. That might have been the biggest save of the year when we look back, is that you somehow saved him. We know the offensive lineman that you lost. We know the guys that you were crossing your fingers and praying you'd keep, but you lost. But keeping him, that will not be something that when we reflect back on, we look back, it won't go unnoticed. We're going to talk about how big a deal it was to save him.
Yeah, again, it's 6'2", 325.
Yep.
So he's got the size. He had that look to him, too, that, Timmy Jernigan and Eddie Goldman did. Just from the body looks a little bit more mature. Like just watching the interviews, when he committed in College Town back in the spring. Yeah. I remember because I posted that video, edited Matt Lasser was out there. But he just has that look like those two did. Doesn't mean that he's going to be the same player. I'm not saying that. Just in terms of being ready for the college game, does he look like he's a project, or does he look like, because a lot of guys, they might come in and they have bad weight and you go, I don't know if he can move around all that bad weight 6 months, maybe. No, this guy should be in the rotation. But again, this is where getting Darrell Jackson back is very useful. He doesn't have to play 30 snaps a game. You can get him in for 15 or 20 and see what he's all about, because you slot things properly with Jackson and Lyons, who's a little bit more nimble. Be interesting to see what he does in a 3-3-5, and KJ Sampson, and now Wynn. And there's other guys in that room as well, but these are your headliners.
It's exciting. Part of it I can't wait for. Everybody asks me right now, what are you most excited about moving forward? And I always just say, I want to watch this defense. I know everybody's going to say offense. Everybody's going to talk about the new Gus Malzahn offense with Castellanos and all that. I want to watch a defense that attacks. I want to watch a defense that pressures from different angles and different spots all the time. I want to watch a defense that is physical and downhill. I want to see and that's a big part of it, is controlling that front, and keeping a guy like that is absolutely huge. We'll get picks from Mama here in a moment. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio at Warchant TV. The defending champion is here, and it is looking depressing for those of you rooting for me, which means none of you. None of you are rooting for me. That is my belief. She is still up 7 after last week's games. We had a couple different last week. We split. And now, because of the holidays and how disjointed and convoluted this has all been, now I believe the number is going to be 8 going into this weekend, because I did stupidly choose the Pittsburgh Steelers to pull an upset on the Chiefs, was my hope in Pittsburgh. But alas, it did not happen, because it never does. And Kansas City just keeps on winning. And they won again. So I lost that game. I think we had the others the same. I believe both of us had Seattle last night in the worst game ever played. And so here's where we sit. It's 8. Cue it up, if you will, Tommy, and let's welcome in Mama for the remaining picks.
And now for another edition of the Family Pick. Nick.
Go to your room!
Ma, the meatloaf!
Take it away, Jeffrey.
Mother, how are you?
I'm good, honey. I'm sort of good. I'm here. I'll say that. I'm ready to go. We're picking. Well, it's not really early, but it's kind of early for me.
It's early for you. It's not early in anybody else's world. It's 9 a.m. for people who need to know the time. But mom likes to lounge around in the morning.
I do. Because I'm up late. Although I didn't go to bed real late last night. It was about 1. So
we caught you spry. You're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. As ready as I'm gonna be, I guess. I tell you what, you're right. That was one of the worst games I've ever watched last night. And I don't know why I watched it, but there really wasn't anything else on. So I watched it. But I really thought Chicago was going to end up winning that game. I mean, they had a touchdown call back, and so you probably didn't see that, but they did. And
I've gotten mature in my old age. I went to bed. I didn't have any cause to stay up and watch Seattle and Chicago play a 6-3 game.
Oh, terrible. Absolutely terrible. When I was sitting there watching it, I was saying to myself, what are you doing? Why are you watching this? But anyway, and I don't know kind of what's happened. Seattle started out, they were doing good, but last night they looked terrible.
Well, their quarterback is Geno Smith, and there's only certain levels you can get to when he's your quarterback. So that's
man. I tell
all right.
You what, it's pitiful.
All right, Mom, we have 3 Saturday games. There's nothing. So today is Friday, right? Yeah, what days are all screwed up.
I know. I can't keep track of the day myself.
So there are no Friday NFL games, but there are 3 Saturday games. And the first one is the Chargers on the road at New England.
Oh, the Chargers. That's what
Denver at Cincinnati.
Now that's kind of a hard game. Who did I pick? I don't even know who I did pick to be telling. I picked Cincinnati.
I too took Cincinnati.
Okay.
Arizona is at the Rams.
Yes, the Rams.
Now we jump to the Sunday games. Jets at Buffalo. We both took Buffalo.
Yeah.
Here's an ugly game. This would be the Raiders against the Saints.
I know. That's going to be another game like last night. I know that the Raiders are supposed to be the worst team in football, but I think I took the New Orleans. I did.
Okay, you took the Saints, right?
I did.
All right, I'm going to take the Raiders.
Oh, okay. All right.
These are the 2 worst teams up there with the Giants. I'm going to take the Raiders then. Indianapolis at the aforementioned Giants.
Indianapolis.
Yes. Dallas at Philadelphia.
Oh, Philadelphia. But now let me say this about that. Who is the quarterback going to be for Philadelphia? I still think they'll beat Dallas, but who is it?
Yeah, if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, it's a kind of a game-changing situation. He had a concussion last week, and he missed the second half of the game against Washington, which is why Washington came back. I have not checked as of this morning to see if Jalen Hurts is playing. Tom, do you have any idea if he is or not? I don't know if there's a
he is.
Trending towards a no. Kenny Pickett would be the back.
Oh, that's terrible. Nothing bad against Kenny, but
no, you're right.
Well, that concerns me, but I don't know. I still feel like Philadelphia should beat Dallas. I mean, I know they beat us, but I don't get on that right now. I don't know what to do about that game. I picked Philadelphia, and I probably should just stick with it. But if Kenny Pickett is going to be the quarterback, that does concern me. But I think Philadelphia's defense should be able to give Dallas a hard, because their quarterback is terrible too.
No, Cooper Rush lit our ass up.
But we were dumb, and we should have started that 2-minute offense way before we did. As soon as we did, we went right down the field.
Well, that's also because teams are playing off of you because they have the lead, Mom. They're not going to let you do that earlier in the game.
Oh, I don't know though. It was pitiful. I'm going to stick with Philadelphia, but it does concern me.
I too will take Philadelphia.
Okay.
Carolina at Tampa Bay. We're both picking the Bucks.
We are.
Tennessee at Jacksonville. Tough game.
It is a tough game. I think I took Jacksonville.
I'll take Tennessee.
Okay.
All right. We got another one different. There you go. Miami is at Cleveland.
Yeah, I take Miami.
I think I'm going to take Cleveland.
Are you?
I think I'm going to take sorry-ass Cleveland. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I can't find it wherever it is on here, but I'll write it down.
Green Bay at Minnesota.
Minnesota, but that's a good game.
That's a great game.
That is a great game, but I'm going to keep riding the Minnesota train. They've only let me down one time.
The Vikings are good, very good. I too will take Minnesota, but that's a great game. Atlanta at Washington, which turns out to be of magnificent proportions and significance for all of us Bucs fans. You had better be on Sunday at 8:20 p.m. glued to that game, Mother, with whatever Washington Redskins / Commanders gear you have.
I don't have any, but I'll put something on that's garnet and gold or whatever. I'll put a Florida State jersey on or something.
You're going to have to do something because we've never been bigger Washington fans in our life.
I know. Atlanta, and the new quarterback they put in there, Penix, he's pretty good.
Oh, he's going to be great. Yes.
Yeah, he did. He lit it up last week or whenever.
Well, he didn't light it up. Their defense scored twice, but anyhow, he played well.
He played very well. Yes, he did. So that concerns me too about Atlanta when we play them. We have. I mean, we just have to win. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Atlanta because if they lose this game, they're not going to the playoffs, and we'll win the division. So that's all that matters. But that's
and Washington's good, thank God.
So you're taking Washington.
I am.
Me too. And the Monday night game, which looked at one time like it was going to be a great game, now I don't think so as much. Detroit at San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. No, I have to take Detroit.
I'll take Detroit as well, although that'd be the kind of game they'd lose. Because
they might hit some people and stuff.
May not mean as much. Mama, what is your favorite Christmas present you ever got?
Oh, my gosh.
Do you have a favorite?
I don't know if I do. I've gotten a few really good ones. Let me think about that.
Was it like a bike when you were a little girl?
I was going to say if I go in like stages, but when I was a little girl, no, I got a dog. Speaking of dogs, see, she knew I was talking about it. I got a poodle puppy for Christmas, and I wasn't really expecting it. I was hoping, but I didn't really think that Mother and Daddy were going to do it. And they did.
Mine was the mongoose you got me, the BMX bike.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that blue?
No, it was black and gold.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. For Spartan colors. Well, something was blue. Something you got was blue. Yeah. Oh, I know. You really did want that bike. I remember that. Yeah, I know.
That's a good one.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess I would have to say that the dog was a biggie. As an adult, I got a beautiful necklace one year that I absolutely love. So, but anyway, I love watching everybody else open their stuff. It's I enjoy that almost more than me opening my stuff.
By far, that is the best part. Yeah, absolutely.
See everybody open their things and be so excited, especially if you have little kids, or even older kids is fun, but the little kids, your brother Aaron, he sent me a video of Mickey, his grandson, and we had sent him a present. It was some kind of glow in the dark marble.
He's all pumped about it.
Oh my God. And he opened it up, and I mean, he's 3.5, and he knew what it was immediately. He was like, oh, the marble run thing. He got so excited, and he was smiling, and he was like showing everybody, and oh my God. And Aaron poloed it so we could see it when he opened it.
Love you, Mom.
So cute.
Have a good weekend.
Everybody had a good Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. And here we go. So we had 4 different, but I won that Pittsburgh. So now we have 3 different.
We have 3 different, and I have to win all of them if I'm going to have any chance here down the stretch. So let's let's hope you have a terrible week.
All right, everybody, stay safe. Love you.
Bye, Mom.
Bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. Got the picks in with Mom, and I don't know. I took the Raiders, Titans, and Browns. How's that? You want to talk about desperation. When a man is resting his fortunes on the Raiders, Titans, and Browns, if all the paths led to this one, the choices you've made are not very good. That you are sitting back on a weekend of football and going, let's go Raiders, let's go Titans, let's go Browns. I think Mom's got it wrapped up, guys. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I think Mom's got it wrapped up. Some awful NFL football to be played this weekend. We'll come back and wrap it up. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. I think we should do here in the waning moments, Tom, a red zone. I know I just sprung it on you. We didn't. You're like, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for that. But we had fun red zone the last time we did it. It was impromptu, and I thought we nailed it. I don't know that it was I don't know that we could do better than what we had, because didn't we do an end of the year sort of wrap?
We did, but I'm ready. I'm prepared.
That's my man. All right, let's go. Let's do the red zone. Cue it up and fire it away here.
Welcome to the majesty.
Every freaking rep.
The elegance.
To win the game. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good.
You have entered.
Someone burned down the funeral home. You burnt the funeral home.
Lives will be changed.
Sideline. Touchdown. Unbelievable.
Mothers will cry.
When you see your players give all that they have and you lose that way, it's tough.
Legacies are etched into eternity.
I know who I am.
North, South Dakota was his brother from West Virginia.
This is the Red Zone.
That's good to know.
At some point, I'm going to have to sit down with my kids and watch all the Naked Guns. Every time I hear Leslie Nielsen go, North, I laugh every single time. Obviously brought to you by Artisan Financial Strategies. Go to Retirement Red Zone, the Nole Retirement Red Zone, I should say, but it's NoleRetirement.com, and find out what we're talking about. Building a winning game plan, always scoring in the Retirement Red Zone necessary. If you're like me, I'm 53 years old. You know, it's on my mind. It's in the somewhat near future. Got to make sure you don't run out of money so that you can spend the rest of your life and have some funds to do some things. You want to work on risk management, investment management, business succession and an exit strategy, estate legacy planning, all the things, man, all the things. Go see my man Adam Tolliver and his team at Artisan Financial Strategies. They've helped, I should say. That group has helped an awful lot of you, and I like hearing about that. Whether you're protecting your family against rising healthcare costs, which is omnipresent in the news these days, that's for sure, or if it is, in fact, planning just a simple retirement, make sure you've got a team that is qualified and as resilient and hardworking as the one at Artisan Financial Strategies. My man Adam Tolliver is a fellow Nole, diehard, and brilliant at what he does. NoleRetirement.com. First down, Tommy, what do we got?
Well, just a quick aside on the healthcare industry. If I ever get psoriasis, I'm glad to know that I'm covered, because every NFL game has minutes and minutes and minutes of it. It's replaced the Cialis ad. It's replaced, which I'm fine with. We don't need the bathtubs anymore.
Right.
But that's the new thing. Is that specific malady and the pill that goes with it?
Yeah, and then they show you the nasty skin. Nothing against the folks out there with psoriasis. Sorry about that, but hey man, I don't need to see all that.
Hey, I got some pretty bad eczema when I was living up north last year. It's gross, but anyway. North. South Dakota was his brother from West Virginia. First down. More excited for the duo of Hansen and Marcellus at tackle for Florida State.
Okay.
Or Darrell Jackson and James Williams on the defensive line for Florida State.
The offensive line. I don't know. I'm more excited to see what we do defensively on the year. What's the mindset? How we play the game defensively. But if we're talking about personnel, I'm much more excited about the offensive line because the offensive line was an effing tragedy last year, and I'm just going to choose to have a functional offensive line, which opens everything else up.
Yeah, I'll clean that up. Pettis is what I meant, not Marcellus. I was confusing Marcellus Marshall from UCF, who did not go to Florida State, and Micah Pettis from Ole Miss. I know of which I spoke, and thank you for rolling with that.
I'm a professional broadcaster, Tom.
Yeah. More excited for on second down. I'll get these names right. I swear it. Chroma or Deuce Robinson?
Well, I brought Chroma to Florida State, and I feel very proud of that, so I'm partial. We all remember what a magical day that was on the Jeff Cameron show, and you guys got to hear it play out live, and how much work I had to put in to make that happen. You guys will never know. It's tough to juggle a live radio program where you're entertaining the masses and you're negotiating during commercial breaks, but we found a way to pull it off. So for me, it's always going to be Chroma.
All right. Third down. We're motoring through this one. Level of concern for special teams next year. 1 of no concern, 10 of significant, very significant concern.
I haven't thought anything about special teams. We suck at actual football last year. So special teams is what it is. It matters. It won't be from lack of trying. Lord knows a certain coach is still on the staff. Papuchis will make sure that we spend an inordinate amount of time being average at special teams. I would say that losing all-American level kickers and punters at the same time is alarming. But I like the backup. The kicker that is behind Fitzy is a stud. He's got a stronger leg, quite frankly. So I think we'll miss the accuracy. I think what I'm more concerned is just how good we were at flipping field position with the punter. He had a lot of practice. But I would say that I'll put it at a 5 because I think we have requisite skill behind it.
I will interject here. I asked that question because I wanted to answer it myself. I'm going to go with a 9. I'm very concerned about special teams next year. You don't have a new coordinator. We have never looked comfortable fielding a punt in Papuch's time here.
It's because they don't know how – they don't use their eyes. Tom, I'm sorry. They don't use their eyes. Every guy they put back there that you watch in practice looks uncomfortable. And then there's another guy that doesn't. And I go with the guy that doesn't look uncomfortable. I don't know why they always choose the guy that looks scared to death.
I believe we're retaining the part of the staff that will shoot super soaker guns, which don't work. It doesn't work. It's called catching the ball. The return game is sorry. It looks like they don't know what they're doing. And I believe that we're talking about special teams and its acumen because you've got 2 talented legs at Florida State. Now, Weinberg might be an excellent kicker for Florida State, and his high school tape says he will. That's fine. But I think we're going to have that rise to the surface when you're trying to win 7, 8, and 9 games to prove that you are on the right path. Special teams can cost you. Didn't matter this year. You weren't good enough, but I'm very concerned about this year. I hope we see material changes to the process there.
Yeah, well, that's the part of it. Let's see material changes to the process and find somebody who can go and catch the ball. If he returns it, great. But can he catch it? Just catch the effing ball and not make it look like the most difficult thing you've ever seen somebody do.
Fourth down, because we will have a red zone after, we'll be in 2025. This is the final 2024 red zone. On New Year's Eve, over under 1.5 bottles of champagne in the Cameron household.
Over for sure. Yeah.
I just didn't know if you were down with the champagne or if it was you have champagne for a little bit and then you pivot off of it.
No, I do both, but I do really love champagne. I especially the kind I get. And no, we will have our fair share of champagne. It goes down so smooth.
That's
It's
right.
tasty, in fact. It's tasty.
Speaking of Kirk Herbstreit and ESPN,
Put some strawberries in it.
This has been very nice. It's a nice touch.
Well, it's good stuff. That's the Red Zone, kids. Hope you enjoyed it. It was fun. Go to NoleRetirement.com to learn more. And our friends at Artisan Financial Strategies. Final hour is the best of. We are out of here. That hour will be more of the fun that you had yesterday, which is the bowl swag segments and the like. Good work, Tommy. Good work, Mama. Thanks to all of you. We will be back with you on Monday. Be good, everybody. Peace.